On this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast, David and I discuss 5 things that you should consider when making the move to digital retailing. We find out about David's homemade allergy remedy. We look at Vroom's Big Pay Day, and we remember the Saturn and the Fiero. All that and more on this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast. Welcome in to episode 050 of the Modern Dealer Podcast. My name is David Farmer with Intice, and with me in studio is David Bertoncini. How you doing, David?
I'm above perfect today, man. I'm excited. Episode 050. It's like it's like an old Mustang 5.0. Or
Yeah, it is.
You're 050 yourself.
Yep, 050 5.0 right here.
All the horsepower. We're going to deliver a good episode today. Keep it short, keep it sweet.
Yep.
We'll keep it neat. And we got a lot of good stuff to cover in a very short period of time. So we'll rock it out.
Yeah, we do. So today's main topic is 5 things to consider when making the move to digital retailing. And really when I came up with this topic, I was just thinking through is, we got dealers today that are dealing with a lot of different shit, right? Dealing with COVID-19, dealing with inventory issues, dealing with advertising, just a lot of distractions right now. So what is important for dealers to be focused on today is making sure that they're selling cars, making money, paying their bills, and, taking care of their employees, but then also forward looking a little bit to what's going to be happening this fall, what's going to be happening this winter, a lot of crazy things. And, I know that Cox Automotive just recently released a study about dealing with COVID-19. So I thought what might be a great topic today would be to really get into 5 things that a dealer should be considering when making the move into digital retailing. But before we get there, what are we drinking today, David?
Man, I'm back. Howard Coffee, Nitro, chilled. It's cold. It is 80,000 degrees here in Florida.
Oh, I know.
It's been raining all week.
Yep.
The humidity was jacked up. Although with all the rain, I thought it was clear up my allergies, but apparently not. I had to have my own allergy concoction. I was telling you about off camera.
Yeah, what was that again?
Okay, so if you do have allergies, this here does work great in the great state of Florida. It is raw apple cider vinegar, organic.
Okay.
Okay. 2 teaspoons of that, 2 teaspoons of raw local honey.
Okay.
It's about 8 ounces of water, cayenne, half a scoop of cayenne pepper, and also cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Yeah. So it's quite a concoction, but it finally cleared me up. I was a little late getting here today because I couldn't breathe, man. And it's not Corona or anything like that.
Is that you, Rona?
I'm good. No, and I didn't even drink any Coronas. I guess I've kind of sworn off all things of that nature. But I'm good to go, man. I feel good. I'm just...
Good.
All the horsepower here, man. Ready to deliver.
Good. I got a little Starbucks dark blend going today. It's hot. I think this is like cup number 7 or 8 today. I've been drinking a lot of coffee. But as you said, it is freaking hot out there today. I think the feels like temperature was going to be 100. I think the same thing was going to be all the way up into Minnesota. So it's not summer yet, but we got some crazy temperatures out there.
It is winter still in Colorado. It snowed in Colorado today.
Did it really?
Yeah. I barely posted on Facebook I can't believe it's snowing June 9th in Colorado. I was like, ouch. Hello, global warming.
Yeah, right?
Crazy temperatures all over the place.
Crazy stuff. Another thing that we talked about last week when we had Jay Smithwick here in the studio, we talked about Vroom's IPO. And it happened yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They had planned, they had hoped, I should say, to raise $319 million. $319 million was what they had hoped for. They ultimately raised $468 million from their IPO. So much higher than anticipated. I think that gave them an overall evaluation of $2.5 billion. So hooray for them. Yeah, billion with the B.
$1 billion, yes.
But yeah, that's pretty incredible. I think it does go to show that there is a lot of excitement around automotive, even in the crazy COVID-19 times that we're in right now. Of course, Vroom is a used car retailer, kind of in the same vein as Carvana. They have some proprietary technology that they've built. They did purchase Texas Direct, a long time successful car dealership. I think they were at one point, and maybe still are, the #1 eBay Motors used car dealer in the country. Kind of a cool deal. I think Jay said that he even sold them some photo booths back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think we forgot to mention, but I saw it looked like Carvana was in a little bit of trouble.
Were they?
Last week with some stock little insider trading happening there with the Carvana boys over there, and so yeah, the father-son duo.
Right. Yeah.
Those boys have raised some eyebrows with the Carvana team, but.
Holy shit! Right now they're at $100. They're $114 per share. Man, I think they were down to 20 something.
Yeah, they were talking about how that seemed a little fuddy-duddy.
Wow.
There was some. I breezed through the article so fast I didn't retain a whole lot, but I just saw there was some insider trading gimmicks that they were talking about there over there at the Carvana group. But hey, it happens. Even happens to the best of us. Hashtag Martha Stewart.
Yeah, they were down to, let's go back a month. Let's go back 6 months. Ooh, right down there. $29 a share back on March 19th.
This year?
Definitely looks like we should have bought some.
Man, we talk about them all the time.
Now they're at 114. Wow, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
They were up to 110 6 months ago, back in February. So
it seems like a little bit of a roller coaster. You went from 110 down to 29, back to 1.
Yep, but they I know they did have a big funding round, or they ended up putting a big deal together with a bank. So I mean, I think there's a lot that has gone into that, but I mean, what it does show is that there's a lot of excitement around automotive, used cars from a technology standpoint, which is, I think, great for the industry to be able to see, these kind of movers and shakers in the digital retailing environment. So, that's one of the things that we wanted to talk today about, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. There's a couple other things that I saw that was kind of interesting, is that, what we talked about last week is that, new car dealers, they may run into some challenges with inventory, as the production shutdowns with COVID-19 and kind of getting everything ramped back up and dealing with the social distancing. Honda had another problem just as of, I think it was just this morning that might have even happened. They had a cyber attack. So that actually they actually made them shut down some production in the U.S., in the U.K., in Japan. It was a pretty major deal.
Wow.
So that I don't know if, I think they think it might be a cyber attack, but I didn't get all the specifics on it. But I mean, if you're a Honda dealer out there right now, you might be want to be thinking about what you're going to be doing for inventory. I know that I've been talking to some of our dealers. We were chatting a little bit earlier today that some of our mutual friends in the automotive industry, they had fucking incredible months last month, right?
Yeah, May was strong.
May's. Even Hyundai, as a company in the U.S., they sold more cars May 2020 than they did 2019. So I mean, they had everything kind of lined up for them.
Yeah.
So even with dealing with COVID-19, the coronavirus, and everything else, to be able to post up numbers that were stronger than 2019, that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and Hyundai has been on the downward spiral because of like a lot of those leases that were like the cars, let's say it was last year in 19, so a 3-year lease going back to 2016. So all those 3-year leases that they had on those 2016 cars, and people were rolling out of there with like, $199 payments and such. Mm-hmm. they changed the money factors, and the residuals just went all out of whack. So all those returning customers, they were getting hit like double their payment they had before.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I just want the exact same car, same deals I had 3 years
couldn't
ago.
move 'em.
And then they were just losing market share left and right because customers were like, if I'm paying that much, I'm going to just go walk next door and get a Toyota. And that's what I heard from a lot of my Hyundai dealers, which
Makes
were
sense.
shared parking lots, or right across the street there was a Toyota store or a Nissan store. And they're like, for those numbers, and we're not doing this again. So like, we're out.
Well, I think in May, what Hyundai did, what I think what really helped is, of course, they were the first to announce the 0% for 84 months. They were the first to announce the deferred payments for 120 days. And I think they're the only manufacturer to offer job loss insurance.
Yeah,
so
the
would
Hyundai
make
Assurance
your payment
Program.
for 6 months. The Hyundai Assurance Program, exactly. And I think just everything lined up nicely for them. They already had inventory since they're made in Korea. You have this kind of this long pipeline that even if production shuts down, you still have the cars coming across the water. So everything just kind of worked out well for them. Main topic, Cox study, at least some of the information that we used to research for our main topic, 5 things that you want to consider when moving to digital retailing. Cox did a study May 2019, so just last month. They surveyed 1,125 consumers ranging from 18 to 70 years old via an online panel. And these were customers that were intending to buy vehicles in the next 6 months. And really what they're trying to find out is how has the COVID-19 impacted the purchase decisions? And really, is there a difference between a new car buyer, a used car buyer, a Lux, non-Lux shoppers as they're making their decisions? And some of the discoveries that they found out was half of the shoppers will be ready to buy within a month of when the states say that they're opening back up. So, I mean, these are customers that were, maybe there's some pent up demand. Maybe that's what we saw in May, where we saw I had some big months. Is that there was a little bit of pent up demand, and then also, additionally, what else did they find out? Some of the other discoveries.
Well, no, the like you said, the right deal was like really important to them. So the incentives had to be, they felt like they had to have a extremely incentivized deal. So like 9 out of 10 people would say, I expect for like a stupid good deal when I roll into the dealership, was some of the feedback they got. And 2/3 were ready to transact fully in a fully digital environment. I think that that 1/3 just felt like, it was such a big purchase that they felt like they couldn't complete such a huge purchase online.
Well, that's really interesting too. That's what I wanted to kind of get into from a conversation standpoint, is that we know that there's not one system of selling that is going to appeal to every single buyer, right? So, dealerships that are considering dipping their foot into the water of digital retailing and really trying to decide how is that going to work for their customers, is I don't think it's going to be a one-size-fits-all approach. They say that 2/3 of customers are ready to transact fully online, but you still have a third of the customers out there that aren't willing. So if you are really embracing a digital retailing scenario, is that going to exclude a third of your customers? Now, one of the things that we personally remember back selling cars in the late 90s, early 2000s is when AutoNation purchased the dealership that we were working at, and we were selling 500, 600, 700 cars per month, depending on the month. And after AutoNation came in, they purchased the dealership, and they forced us to move from a negotiating environment into a one-price environment. Early days, 20 years ago, but that definitely had a very negative effect on the overall sales volume. And I think that's something that dealers need to consider today when moving into digital retailing, is how do they want to do that? Because if you're doing digital retailing, you almost have to be negotiation free.
Right.
And if 1/3 of the customers don't want to have a full digital retailing experience, how is that negotiation-free process going to affect their overall sales?
Because that 1/3, which haven't bought into the fully digital, they still want to negotiate.
Exactly.
They still want to feel like they won. They want to feel like they got a deal.
And the most important thing that customers are looking for is the deal. So if you're doing digital retailing, you kind of have to do negotiation free or one price. And how is that going to affect to all of the people that are looking for the right deal, right? And how is that going to affect the customers that want to negotiate? You're almost excluding them.
I mean, you should actually, as a dealer, I would say you'd want to cross shop yourself and go through, the Honda store. If you're a Toyota dealership, try the Honda store across the street and mystery shop them, obviously online, to see, how difficult is it? I mean, is their best price already online, or is there some room for negotiations? I mean, I would try that around all the stores around yourself and just cross shop them.
Mystery shop.
Yeah, mystery shop them yourself as a GM or as a CMO or somebody or a sales manager. I mean, just find out exactly and just make up some phony little email address that you got all your crap going to. So it's like, Moose McGillicuddy, at Yahoo. You just send it to old Moose.
Yep.
And then, when you do that, find out exactly what these guys are doing. Because if you're going to embrace a fully digital concept on your website, and of course, all your pricing and everything like that, you kind of want to see what the other stores around you doing. If everybody's on board around you going fully digital, then that'll be the way to go. If you got a couple guys that are negotiating, then you almost have to have your internet department feel out each one of those leads and see, is there a little bit meat left on the bone to make the customer feel like they won? Because people still want to feel like, hey, I'm better than the guy next door to me and I won.
And it reminds me too, is if anybody that is considering what digital retailing means to the overall process, and if they are embracing a one price negotiation free sales process, you really have to this has to be a culture shift. And I remember, back in the day when we were selling cars and we made that change, and if you are going to be one price, you have to be one price. Does that mean you're going to lose a car deal over throwing in a set of floor mats? The answer is yes. I mean, if you're willing to cross the line and move into negotiating, then you're always going to be chasing. And I think that's one of the challenges that we saw, is that we had a team of 50 salespeople that were used to negotiating and putting deals together without having any real process change or culture change. We just weren't allowed to negotiate anymore. You know what I mean?
We woke up one day and they said, "All right, you guys are wearing handcuffs today." We're like, "What do you mean?"
And then really from the management, it was like, well, I mean, if you have to, do what you have to do, because we still have to sell cars.
Well, see, back then, if you had the ability to mystery shop the stores all around you, you would have discovered that you're the only one doing that. So the market, actually, the consumer was not ready for it. Right. As you saw with Saturn, that failed for Saturn back in the 90s. They obviously didn't make it too far into the 2000s. Yeah. Where they folded in 2007, 2006. There were, I think, 08's the last year I think a Saturn was built. So they were done 12 years ago with their model, and people did like it. And my wife didn't understand what a Saturn business. I'm like, what they made them different was they made cars out of plastic. The whole body panels were plastic. She's like, "Como? Like plastic?" And I'm like, like plastic.
Yeah. I remember the rubber mallet on
hitting the panels.
Like the Fiero, too, if you remember the old Fiero.
Oh, yeah.
That's a plastic car.
And of course, it was just one price with those guys. And, they were the only ones doing it, but they had to actually offer a unique product to match that unique pricing. They're like, "Our cars are made of plastic." And we're like,
And
well, maybe
so this really is one of the things that a dealership needs to consider is when you make the shift to embracing digital retailing, are you going to one price your vehicles? And then this transitions into, well, what does that entire sales process mean then? If you're going to do one price for your vehicle pricing, are you going to do one price for your F&I products? I was doing a presentation for a big Ford dealer in the Midwest last week for our digital retailing technology, and that was the question that came up: is how do you handle F&I products? So, I believe in the one price sales process. I believe in one price for F&I products as well, and I believe that you need to build value in those products and in a process to be able to support that. But I mean, that is a decision that you need to make as a dealership if you're really going to do it. So if you're going to do digital retailing and you're going to embrace a one price selling process for customers that are coming to your dealership website in a digital retailing experience, what does that mean for the customer that's just walking into the dealership? Are you going to embrace a one price sales process, or are you going to, start here and then bring the customer down? What's your process? How are you going to handle that customer when they get into the F&I office? I mean, are you going to try to, knock their head off, right? I mean, it's like, that's the way I kind of think about a sales process is if you're building your sales process around the fact that you're going to try to clobber one out of every 4 customers versus, embracing a one price environment, I think you really need to take a closer look at your sales process. In how you're going to be handling the vehicle sales, and then also how that's going to transition into the F&I office as well.
Well, I mean, just as our old store did, I mean, it's going to be a volume thing. If you can have a fair profit on everybody, that if you went to one pricing on your F&I products, to me, that just seems to make a lot of sense.
And here, we're regulated in the state of Florida. So, I mean, we're kind of in a one price environment. But there's many states that are not regulated, so they can openly negotiate. And I know we were talking to Lloyd Truschel, one of our previous guests and good friends to the Modern Dealer podcast. Is he was talking about how to really embrace a one price environment for F&I products in non-regulated states where you look at it day to day. And I think he gave a great example of transparency in an article that he wrote in F&I and Showroom magazine about how to kind of structure that one price environment and how to embrace it. So a lot of good information there. Number one of the 5 things to consider when making the move to digital retailing. Number 1, are you going to embrace one price for vehicle pricing? Are you going to embrace one price for F&I products? And then looking at, we're talking about digital retailing, so it's going to be on your website. How are you going to engage customers into the process? And I think this opens up for a really good question is on your search results page, your SRP, on your vehicle display page, your VDP, or if you're working with some other website providers, they like to call them something else. But basically, your SRP and your VDP, what is going to be the call to action? What is going to be that button that's going to start the customer into that process? Is it going to be buy now? Is it going to be build your deal? Is it going to be start your purchase? And then if so, how are you going to engage customers that want to start with the trade, or they want to start with the test drive? They want to start with getting pre-qualified. And really what it reminded me of is, back in our TQE days, right? The Toyota Quality Experience training with Grant Cardone, the Cardone Group. One of the things that's really stuck with me a long time is incorporating how to get to the deal hot button when you're talking with a customer, right? And if you remember, it's like we in the training we would talk about ways to qualify the customer in the needs assessment. We ask questions like,
are there any other decision makers?
Well, no. Well, other than that, but are you driving a Toyota now? If you don't mind me asking, when did you get it, and what is your payment? Oh, it's only $427.
How'd you get it so low?
How'd you get it so low? And then the answer to that question is what would tell you about what the customer's deal hot button was. So if you say, $427, how'd you get your payment so low? And it's like, well, that's not a low payment, right? So So now we know that
Right.
they're looking for something lower, or if they said, well, I got a really good interest rate, or I financed it for only 36 months. I did short-term financing because I wanted to pay it down really fast.
Or I put 10 grand down.
Or I put 10 grand
leased
down,
it
or I had a
and
trade.
Had a free and clear trade. Yeah, so many things would pop up doing that incognito needs analysis.
Yeah.
Just conversational qualifying your customer conversationally without saying, hold on, let me fill out my needs analysis here. Did you buy this car new or used?
Right?
Very robotic, but if you just made it a conversation, Grant was really big on making it casual, like a conversation, and just having it flow.
Yep.
And of course, you had to drill and rehearse it quite a bit of times.
Absolutely. What I think is really cool about that, though, is that you think about, well, when you're selling, right? When you're a salesperson, you're selling a car. There is an art to selling, and the art is in how you communicate, how you create engagements with customers, what questions you ask, and the responses that you get, such as, how'd you get your payment so low? I got a great interest rate, or, it's not low, or I got a great deal, or I got a really great incentive, or, I had a paid for trade, or whatever the answer is, that guides you into the next, part of the process. And that really is the difference between being a salesperson versus being a clerk. And when you're thinking about building a digital retailing experience on a dealership's website, are you trying to create the process more like a clerk, like a transaction, or are you trying to create a retailing experience? And are you trying to build a process that is going to really help sell that customer, right? And I think that's, one of the things that you need to really think about is the digital retailing process that you're trying to create as a dealership. Are you going to be focusing on selling, or are you just going to be focused on the transaction? And I think that most digital retailing technologies focus on just the transaction, and they don't really take in consideration the selling of building value in the exploration, the questions and answers, and bringing the customer through a sales process versus just a transaction funnel.
Well, so focusing on selling or the transaction, so the selling actually them being able to fully purchase the vehicle on.
No, I mean, so the difference between selling, where there's an art to selling, but you're asking the right questions, you're guiding the customer through a process, you're building value, you're doing presentation, right? Those types of things, versus just click to buy.
Okay.
That's what I mean, click to transact.
Okay.
And it's just step, A, B, C, D. Am I just hoping that a customer is going to sell them? We used to have a term for it, right? We got the customer on AC.
Auto close,
right?
Yep.
And that was the thing is, right? You're just going to hope the customer sells themselves.
Right. I'm going to just walk away and you guys just sit there and stare at that paper for 10 minutes. I'll be back. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette and
come
back. And the customer's
turn on the AC.
Still staring at the menu.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, so that's
that
what
was
I mean.
your close when you came back. So you guys ready?
Yeah. Now the last thing, and we got to get this thing wrapped up already. It's almost we only got 2 minutes left, and we want to get to your 3 tips if you have them. But the last of the 5 is so if you're building a digital retailing experience for customers, how does an F&I manager engage with that customer? Are they doing a Zoom call? Are you just excluding F&I? Do you have tools and technology and videos that's going to build value and products on your website? But those are the things that you're going to want to take in consideration. Number one price for vehicle pricing. Number 2, one price for F&I products. Number 3, what is your CTA? How you're going to engage with the customer on your website? How does an F&I manager fit into the process? And are you going to be focusing on selling or focusing just on the transaction? So with that, we're going to move into Bert's 3 tips.
All right, so real fast, I would definitely, number 1, I would have have management mystery shop the stores around you to see exactly what is their process, and are you different, or are you just in line with the rest of the stores? Number 2, call to action on the website. so many different things you can do. If it's in an advertisement, I mean, obviously maybe a call to action would be great to message us now. Really beef up your BDC game. Different calls to actions, I would say, or get your price and payment now would be one, because a lot of people still feel threatened that hey, I'm going to buy this vehicle if I click buy now.
True.
They're scared they're actually going to complete a transaction. And they don't really want to do that. F&I, as you mentioned a minute ago, a Zoom call with F&I, that would be strong. Hey, finance director, you got a new job to do. So,
all right, 3 seconds for David. And David,
it's a wrap. That's a wrap. Bam.
All right, we ran out.
Appreciate you doing this. And 3, 2, 1. Troy and Abed in the morning, and we're back. Look who's here, Jeff Winger. Jeff, how do you stay so fit?
Diet, exercise, genetics.
Sure. Okay, so it seems as though we have a clip. You want to set it up for us?
I'd like to, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, we'll just roll it. My name's Jeff Winger. Hey, I'm Jeff Winger. I'm so tall.
This watch is expensive.
Muscles are everywhere.
Oh, that was really funny. Guys, what's going on? Where are the cameras?
Oh, we're not filming this. No, who'd want to watch this?
Oh, guys, it's 6 a.m. Jeez.
We're not gonna have him back. Troy and Abed in the